Internet. I'm here to show you a little kind of a preview of an Essex class carrier, the USS Lexington cv-16. I am primarily focusing on her during her late 50s, so 58, 59. She has been under construction for a while, mostly using the deck plans of the USS Hornet and some of the Orskani deck plans. So, for the most part, this front of the hull is pretty much done. Really, I just gotta finish up the hangar bay and I can start working afterwards. The main island is mostly has the important stuff. It just needs a lot more detail work. The front elevator here, side elevator, wing elevator, I can't remember what you call it, is done as well. I'd use views from, let's say, the USS Intrepid model, since there was no real perfect view of this from the Lexington, so you have to use what you get. But the elevator's done. I still have to finish up the catwalks, some of the armaments up there, and even some of the side here. For the most part, I got the ceiling most done. This side is pretty much done. It's just working on this side that's going to be a little trickier, since the USS Hornet, in fact, a lot of the Essex class carriers, that's their SCB-25 C and A conversions were done, weren't all exactly the same. For example, the anti-antium, or however we say that, cv-36, I believe, is very different from a lot of her sisters. Specifically, she doesn't have an elevator right over here. In fact, she has her elevator right in, right where, kind of like this, but in the rear. The USS Hornet doesn't have a sliding door right here. It actually has these kind of doors, like this type of door, just all the way back there. So that's making things a little tricky. I was able to get views from this off of just looking over multiple different websites. NavSource is a really good source for looking at this type of stuff. But she is going to be primarily, of course, based on our 58 configuration. This was kind of tricky. I wanted to make the islet a little bit wider, but I just couldn't, because this top portion would just look very funky. It would just look too wide. And a lot of the island views, again, NavSource is a good source. However, I have been trying to look online, specifically in this little area. I want to see if this side is longer than that side. I know how this should look. I just need to know how this side should look. I was also able to find, so on the museum, there's the way they have it. They don't have it set up the way this is. It's actually set up differently, and that didn't come around until early 60s. Before this, it was like this. They had these two, I don't know what these are actually. I think they're for cables. They had these two cables, and there wasn't actually any correct, walkway that led up to here. In the new, design, or kind of, what you see on the museum is that instead of these two, there's one, and it's laying this way, and it's very similar to what you see on the other side of the ship. And there would be a walkway, and it would lead up to stairs over here, and that would connect to the other side, and it's, again, similar to what you see here. Actually, I think it's almost exactly the same as what you see here. There was a lot of views over here of people just staring from right here, just looking up. I still need to get a lot of the mast and rigging all done, but other than that, the main hull, I should say the bow section is pretty much done. This is one of many iterations of the Lexington. When I get it done, I'll probably release a video just showing her off. But if you wanted to build any other carrier, such as say the Hornet, or even the Intrepid, or even the Yorktown, their hull is pretty different from what you see here. Anything below there is the same. Anything below the black line, the water line, is the same. It's just when you come over here, while it does have the same curve, it's this big area there needs to be a lot of change. As let me see if I can pull up USS Hornet, because the way it feels is that they kept the original bow and just filled it in. Unlike the Lexington, in which her bow is fairly flush, and that's why you get that kind of ladder type bow that you see. So this is what I mean right here. This kind of like it looks like it's actually a part of the original hull design. It just feels like they just filled it in, kind of. Unlike what you see here on the Lexington, in which the Lexington's hull is pretty flat, pretty universal. But that's one major change. If you want to do an Intrepid, the flight deck also has to change pretty massively. So a lot of this front section could stay the same, but when you move on to the second, actually I think it's the third elevator, the aft elevator, is where you have the massive angled deck, and then the rest of it's pretty much the same. For the most part, though, most of the SS class carriers are very, very, very similar. Even some of their hulls are similar. After I finish this, I do want to attempt to build the World War II XX class carrier, because most of them are very, very similar to each other. But once this ship is done, I'll sure release a video. Other than that, it has been a pleasure to show you this creation, and I hope to see you in the next video. Oh, and if you feel like subscribing, please do. Please. But other than that, thank you, and goodbye.